The Artist and the Administrator. Symbol, Structure, and the Battle for Cultural Ownership. By Rue. Now let's go deeper into the difference in thinking patterns, not as caricature, not as insult, but as cognitive orientation. There is a difference between the artist mind and the administrator mind, between the creator and the controller, between the one who generates raw symbolic energy and the one who organizes, packages, distributes, and profits from it. These two modes have existed side by side throughout history, and if you study Kemet and then study Greece and later Europe, you can see contrasting emphases in how reality was processed. Kemet leaned heavily into symbolic, metaphorical, integrative cognition. Their medunetter was not just writing, it was visual philosophy. Image and word fused, sound and symbol intertwined. A single glyph could carry layers of meaning, cosmic, moral, agricultural, astronomical, simultaneously. That is artist cognition. It thinks in symbols. It sees patterns. It communicates through metaphor. It compresses worlds into images. Greek thought, especially classical Greek philosophy, leaned into categorization, logic, separation, definition. Aristotle systematizes. Plato abstracts forms. Euclid formalizes geometry. Roman culture later formalizes law, governance, infrastructure. These are not inferior modes. They are administrative modes. They classify, regulate, codify. They build systems. They manage territory. But here's the tension. When a symbolic civilization encounters a systematizing one, the symbolic gets translated into categories. The poetic becomes literal. The fluid becomes defined. The artist's metaphor becomes the philosopher's taxonomy. And once categorized, it can be controlled. That dynamic still exists. Look at modern entertainment. The raw creative force, especially in hip-hop, emerges from communities that think rhythmically, metaphorically, improvisationally. Hip-hop is linguistic alchemy. It bends words, flips meanings, stacks double entendres. It compresses lived experience into rhythm and cadence. That is medunetter logic in modern form. Layered symbolism, coded meaning, storytelling through image and sound. And yet, from the beginning of the recording industry, the ownership structures, labels, contracts, distribution networks, were often controlled by those who did not generate the raw cultural energy. The artist creates from lived reality. The executive structures it into a product. The creator generates. The administrator monetizes. The pattern mirrors ancient dynamics. One mind births symbols, the other builds systems around them. This is not about race as biology. It is about cultural cognitive conditioning. Some cultures historically emphasized metaphor, rhythm, communal expression, embodied storytelling. Others emphasized linear logic, property law, hierarchy, and centralized control. When those two collide, one often produces art, while the other formalizes contracts. The artist mind creates out of nothing, or what appears to be nothing. It pulls rhythm from silence, meaning from chaos, story from pain. That is generative cognition. It is nonlinear, it is intuitive, it is improvisational. The administrator mind asks, how do we package it? How do we scale it? How do we own it? How do we regulate it? Even neuroscience hints at this tension. Metaphorical, pattern-based, holistic processing often associated with right hemispheric tendencies. Analytical, sequential, categorizing tendencies often associated with left hemispheric processing. Both are necessary. Civilization collapses without structure, but culture suffocates without creativity.
The problem arises when the structural mind positions itself above the creative mind, when it claims authorship over what it merely organized, when it renames what it did not originate, when it translates living symbolism into rigid doctrine. That is what happened when Medu Neter became hieroglyphs, when Neteru became gods, when fluid cosmology became categorized mythology. In modern form, you see the same tension. Contracts defining artists who defined themselves first. Corporate ownership of rhythms born in neighborhoods. Branding layered over authenticity. The controller benefiting from the creator's gift. But here is the deeper truth. The artist mind is regenerative. It cannot be eliminated because it emerges from lived experience. It is adaptive. It re-symbolizes. It reinvents language. Hip-hop is proof. Despite corporate structures, the raw creative force keeps evolving. Slang changes, flow changes, metaphor deepens. The gift continues. The solution is not to demonize structure. Structure is necessary, but balance must exist. The creator must understand structure so they are not consumed by it.
The symbolic mind must understand contracts. The artist must learn administration. Because when the creative and the structural integrate within the same person, exploitation decreases. Kemet's brilliance was not just art, it was integrated art and science, symbol and architecture, cosmology and engineering. When the artist and the builder were unified, the civilization stabilized. When those functions separated and one dominated the other, imbalance followed. So the deeper conversation is not simply about who creates and who controls. It is about cognitive sovereignty, understanding your mode of thinking, honoring metaphor without rejecting logic, mastering structure without suffocating creativity. Because when the artist learns the system and the system respects the artist, then creation and control no longer war against each other. They collaborate. And that is when culture evolves without being extracted. Ashe.